And good morning, South Africa and everyone on the African continent. Thank you very much for joining us right here on Pan-African Morning. And yes, it is still Pan-African Morning, and we are standing in for the notorious lady herself, for Audrey Chimwanda Twala, the lady that is always hosting Pan-African Morning. And today is quite a big shoes that we have to fill, but thank you very much for joining us right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And my name is MBELE. And today in studio, I am not alone, but I am obviously with the brother in the navy blue color of sorts. Good morning, THUSI.
A very warm welcome, Hamza. It's good to have you. And thank you so much for joining us to further the conversation across all our social media platforms. We are Galaxy Universal Network on Facebook. We are GUN_TV_ on Instagram and on Twitter. And we must say that today we have a jam-packed show. You don't want to miss this one.
Certainly. I think today is going to be the cream of the top in terms of the guests that we are interviewing. We're talking all things interior design today on the show. I mean, how to turn just a house into a home. Can you turn a house worth of probably 200,000-400,000 rand into a lavish R1 home in terms of the interior, how it looks, and the aesthetic that a home should have? That is a conversation that we get to have today with Umam Grace joining us via our Zoom link, and that is certainly a conversation to be had.
And then later as well, we have a geologist in the studio who will be engaging with us as to how you go about that. I mean, it's quite a different career.
It is. I was about to ask you.
It's quite a different career, but we will engage with Charmaine later on the show. But
certainly.
For now,
but THUSI, wait. I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea on what a geologist does?
I think I do. Someone that looks at the soil and tells us what kind of a soil it is.
Okay.
They look at kind of those things.
Oh, I was just picking your brain. It's not just journalism and news. You do understand what is happening within our different fields and careers within South Africa.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to learn and just to get to hear more from our guest as to what does it really entail. Because it's a total different environment.
Certainly. With that being said, certainly. But we do continue with our conversations right here on Galaxy Universal Network, Pan-African Morning right here. Engage with us on Facebook. We are Galaxy Universal Network. And on Twitter, we are GUN_TV_. And certainly, please do allow us to get right into what we are certainly today conversing about. But THUSI, I mean, also looking into March, the entire March on the calendar. Today is TB World Day. We are also looking into that, the health matters surrounding TB, and also knowing that on the 21st of March was all things happening within Sharpeville, the 69 people that died, and about 180 of those were wounded during the gunfires that were happening during that time. So it was also very unprecedented times in South Africa, and also getting to relive and really get to celebrate the times that were in South Africa, and really as young people to understand what it means when it is Human Rights Day, and certainly today being World TB Day.
Yesterday, I had a conversation with the president of the PAC, Pan-Africanist Congress, Azania. You know, he enlightened me on quite a number of things, and one of them was that we are losing the content of these events. Now they call it a Human Rights Day, but initially it was the Sharpeville massacre, and that's what really happened. So it's really, you know, interesting to learn that these holidays over time and over years, you know, the gist of it and the content behind it, it's being toned down. And you know, he was reiterating the fact that we need to revisit history because history does not have blank pages. It
doesn't, certainly. But how then do we as young people currently get to understand the phenomenon of our history, of what day it represents? What should it mean to us being young, black in South Africa, from the same dusty streets of your East Rand, Kukatlo, Vosloorus, Soweto, even where a lot of these things happen? How then do we celebrate, to commemorate, and really say that we stand with those that our fallen heroes, that it all happened in it was a Sharpeville massacre? How then do we celebrate that day? How do we look back and translate it into 2021?
I guess it's a matter of us allowing ourselves as well, you know, to be told these stories by our elders, because they've experienced it. So them telling us and us allowing ourselves to, you know, zone into that and get to learn from them, I think it's what is a crucial thing to do.
Definitely. But I think allow us at this point to get right into the guests that are joining us this morning. And to say, I think you should really take a hold of this one. But today we get to speak to an interior designer, a lady of note that does not need any introduction. And today we're really talking about all things buying a home. How do you make a house turn into a very comfortable and beautiful home that you get to really live in and celebrate with your family?
Or rather on Zoom, we are joined by Mum Grace Mnguni, who is an interior designer, and he will be engaging with us. A very warm welcome to you, Mama.
Hello.
A very warm welcome to you, Mum Grace.
Hello.
Mum Grace, a very warm welcome. We seem to be losing her right there.
Certainly, but Mum Grace, allow us to converse with you at this point. We are live on Galaxy Universal Network. I think we are about to get into the entire career of being an interior design. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us right here on Pan-African Morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
Grace is fine, and how are you?
We are certainly good right here in studio, and I mean the weather is quite cloudy and moody today, but how about you that side in East London?
East London is also cloudy and moody.
Certainly, but I think let's get right into it, THUSI. Mama, we are speaking about today turning a house into a home. As an interior design, where did your love start about putting together the aesthetics of a beautiful home?
Okay, first thing, I think a home, it should reflect the owner's personality.
Yeah.
You should have family photos, you create a gallery wall, and accessorize with the sentimental objects. Yeah. Because you want it to feel like as a home. Yes. People, when they come into your house, they can see your family pictures, something that has happened, maybe we went to a vacation. Yeah, I think things like that.
Now, Mum Grace, where did the passion and the love for interior design start? I mean, it's a total different career choice. It's not common to our people. Where did it start and how did it start?
I don't want to lie. I think it started because I didn't study to be an interior designer. Okay. It's God-given.
Oh, wow.
I think because I love beautiful things, and then I started noticing that I've got an eye for, those nice things for the house, and I can just tell, because obviously when you're starting to buy a house, maybe you start to flat, and then I would see that in that corner, I need to put something, I need to change this, I need to change that. And then people would give me compliments. Oh, wow, you've got a good, you can do this. So then I was like, you know what, let me do this as a business because I can do it. So that is how it started.
Certainly, but I mean, Mama, mentioning that it was just from compliments that people were giving at the time of your home and really saying that, let me turn this into a career. And how was the start of your business? How was the start of you really in the career of being an interior designer? And what advice would you give to another woman who's sitting at home, really being given the same compliments and wanting to start her own field and her own aesthetic into being an interior designer?
I think for someone that is thinking of starting a business, especially with interior designing, I would say if you don't have it, you don't have it. So someone, they might go to school or wherever to study, but if you don't have it, like I would say, I'm not bragging, I have it. So for someone that is wanting to go that route, it's either you go study. I think to study for it, it's the best thing that you can do. If you don't have it, you must remember, I said to you guys, to me it's God-given. Yes. I have it.
Mum Grace, now coming to the fact that one would just how like if I were to buy a house now, what are the other aspects that you look at before you start designing the house, like your garden, your size of your garden? What are some of the things that are critical as an interior design that you look at?
Okay, buying a house, I think what's important is that you must first have a vision. You must see a potential, because people buy a house thinking that it's going to have everything. If you don't have a vision, then you'll just see a house that doesn't give a meaning. So if you have that, I always say, in each and everything, if you don't have a vision of that thing, then you won't understand why some people buy like old houses. So if you have a vision, I think the first thing buying a house, just to be comfortable inside, you paint it. Because by just painting it, it gives a house a different look. It gives a different look, and also by just buying, you know, when you buy, it's going to be like a dirty house, you paint it, immediately it boosts the value of the home that you've just bought. And then go inside to the garden. Obviously, you want a nice garden that is inviting. You know, when people come to your home, they must be able to be like, oh, wow, it's got a beautiful garden. And even with the garden as well, it boosts the value of your home. Because everyone is like, when they're driving past your house, they can see that this house, it's looked after. They're doing things to boost it. Because easily you can buy a house for 1.5 million by just painting and doing the garden. It makes a huge difference. It pushes the value maybe about 200,000 to 300,000, but just painting the house and doing the garden. Without even putting the pictures inside. I promise you, paint does a wonderful job to your home.
Now, Mom Grace, you know, it's so interesting, Harmony, you know, what she's engaging with us about. And I just want to ask this. Over time, you see Imakaya, like, after maybe 5-10 years, they would repaint the house. And so, Mom Grace, coming to you, how important it is and how many, like, what's the duration for one to kind of decide, you know what, I need to revamp, I need to change this, I need to, you know, kind of bring a new feel to the house?
Okay, to be realistic, I think 10 years. Because, I mean, you must understand that if you buy a paint, they always say the lifespan of that paint is about 5 to 10 years. To be realistic, because these days, things are not cheap. I mean, buying a paint and getting painters, it's not a cheap exercise. So I would say 10 years, because, like, when we bought our house, there's like a lot of revamping. So after 10 years, obviously, I got tired because, I mean, as time goes, you get more aware of what you want compared to when you did it maybe 3 or 5 years ago. So as the time goes, you get more creative. I mean, you see books, you go to other people's houses and you're like, oh, I think I like that paint. So I think, to be realistic, 10 years. Let's be realistic. 10 years.
Oh, interesting. Thank you very much, Ma'am Grace, for really conversing with us at this point. But I mean, also taking a look into such a God-given talent as such as being an interior design. What advice would you give to a brand new home owner? Aside from painting, if they don't have a garden, what are the kind of aesthetics they might have in terms of making it modern, making it chic, making it relevant, and making the entire kitchen space to be welcoming? Should it be an open plan? If it is not, how then do they work around that entire homely space and making it quite a beautiful home to enjoy and sit in?
Okay, now that you've mentioned open plan are the best because they open up the space.
Yes.
Once it's not open, it feels cluttered. And if you have a small space, get away with doing dark colors. Like when we started buying, I'm going to be always giving you examples about myself. When we started buying, I don't know, there was something with brown. I had like a brown kitchen. Yes, we do have open plan because we managed to bash all the walls just to have an open plan because it gives like a wider space. So then my kitchen was brown. And after some time, as I was saying to you, you get tired of the look. And obviously, I felt that because my kitchen is narrower and it's small, if I can change the color, it will make it bigger. And as a result, last year, I revamped my kitchen. It's white now, and it looks beautiful. And I mean, you don't have to use expensive things as well. So small spaces, just try and get like nice light colors. You don't have to do dark because it makes your home dark. And with the small garden as well, I mean, you get houses that do have small gardens. With what you have, just try and make it beautiful. Get pot plants and, you know, flowers. Yeah, nothing. You don't have to break bank.
break in the bank in such a time being COVID-19. And people are really willing to go out to change their homes, bring in a brand new aesthetic, a whole new feel and texture to the home. But what I think we are asking a lot of questions, but allow us to now give you the platform to speak to us young men in South Africa that are potentially looking to buy a house and turn it into a home. And what would you say to us? I mean, we are just men at the end of the day. What are the things that we should be looking for? Probably we have not mentioned it in this conversation. Educate us a bit.
Okay, can you say that again? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. You were all talking.
Oh, no problem. I'm saying please do engage with us in terms of, I mean, we are young men in South Africa, even on the African continent. What are the things that we might not be privy of or to know within buying a house, turning it into a home? And what advice would you give to probably something that we have not touched on with this conversation? What more other things does it really entail to be an entire, well-recognized and building a brand and a name within the industry of being an interior designer?
We seem to have lost Grace, unfortunately. But that was an interesting conversation.
Certainly, and it was just at the tip of such a beautiful question for us young boys in South Africa.
Yeah, young men. We are going to buy our houses at the end of the day, and we need to turn them into homes. But for now, we are going to take a short break. Do stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this. Someone stole from me yesterday.
It was not my fault now. Eh?
Leave me or I blast your head!
No, don't shoot, sir, please!
Please don't kill us.
I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
But it's still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Oh my God! champion. That was delightful.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot. Please don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Wow!
Let's go. Come on, we can be back by morning.
Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah! Awesome! Totally! Yeehaw! Very funny.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
And ladies and gents, welcome back right here to Pan-African Morning on Galaxy Universal Network. Quite an honor and a privilege to be in the comfort of your home this morning. And my next guest does not need any introduction, but because courtesy of news, courtesy of being on TV, I am joined by CHARMANE, who is a geologist who studied geology. And not only that, a young woman in South Africa who inspires to really bring about change and to pioneer within her own right to say that I am the next Mamuini Tigizala Mandela right here on the show. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
I have no idea where to start.
Okay.
Your bio, your profile, who you are, the woman that you embody. I feel like I'm talking to a Nomza Mombata with a lot of people. I mean, you are quite a powerhouse. But I mean, where do we start? Who is CHARMANE Mahlagaume? Where are you from? Let's allow our viewers to get to know you a bit.
Okay. So basically, CHARMANE Mahlagaume is originally from Mpumalanga.
Okay.
I have 5 siblings. It's a very big family.
Wow.
Yeah, and almost all of us are actually in the engineering or science field. That's how much in love we are with science. And funny enough, my mother actually wanted me to study medicine.
Really?
I promise you. And then when I told her, Mom, I want to study geology, we had a huge fight. It went on for days. And I actually had to sit down and think to myself that, should I make this decision to impress her? Or should I make a decision that I will have to deal with for the rest of my life? And then I said, no, Mom, I'm going for geology.
Oh, wow. So, no, wait, let me ask you this. I mean, at this point, when you're bickering with your mom at this point, I mean, it's a conversation back and forth. Is it inspired by your other siblings in front of you, or is it just because she has a deeper understanding of what medicine could do for yourself in your career path, or was it just that I just want engineering? This is what I know. I love science. I love maths.
Okay, so basically with my mother, she wanted me to study medicine because she realized, because most of my family members were sickly people.
Oh, yes.
And she had this thing of, you're very smart, you're very energetic, you like helping people. You call me once, I'm there.
Right.
I'm not like some of my siblings, they have to call them like 10 times. I'm there. So she just had this picture and this future figured out for me in her head. And well, the reason why I specifically chose geology is because I remember when we used to go visit my grandparents in Limpopo. Gosh, they are surrounded by these beautiful rocks in their house.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness, it's a dream. And I remember when I would pick these rocks up, I was still young, and I'd ask my dad and my parents, what are these? They're so beautiful. What are they made of? And nobody could give me answers, and I'd be so frustrated. I'm like, I want to know. Tell me, where do they come from? How do they even exist? We don't have this in Limpopo. And curiosity took the better of me. I started researching and finding out about rocks and minerals, and that's where the more I researched, the more my love grew for it.
Wow.
And I was just,
you were hooked.
I was hooked, and yeah, I was gone.
Sure, I don't even know. Literally, at this point, I think the conversation could really take a twist and turn, because I mean, you do sound like a person who's here on this world for a reason, and you want it to be as impactful as it could be, so that your name gets remembered for something that you did, not only for yourself, but for even others. Take me through the journey of then finding what you want to do, and there you are studying engineering, and other university students are even also really conflicted at this point in university. And how did even your parents really realize and say that this is the career field I'm going to, and this is it, I'm not doing medicine? How did your mother at the time, come to terms with it?
Oh, well, I think she realized, she saw how happy I was and passionate about I was with geology. And I think whenever I would interact with people, she would see this glow in my face, this confidence. And I was doing really well at school as well. So when she saw my results, she realized, my dad as well, my dad, he's my #1 fan. I think he really helped in terms of helping my mom understand that, listen, this is what your child loves. And the one thing that actually made her to end up supporting me is this. So we went to my grandparents' house again. And so my dad is friends with the chief in Limpopo. I won't say which chief or his name or anything like that. So I was eavesdropping in their conversation, and I remember the chief was crying really, really bad, and he was saying, we are experiencing some illegal miners in our land, and it's becoming a problem. People are coming here, they're telling us they can help us mine the minerals that we have, but then it's illegal miners, and after they're done, they disappear, and we're left with nothing. So, and my heart pounded so hard, and I said, you know what, I can do something about this. And I asked my dad if he can set up a meeting for me and the chief and see if I can help where I can. And I realized that, you know, people who own lands with minerals in communities like Limpopo, they're taken advantage of, especially by mining industries where they know very well they're not well informed. They don't know much about mining. They don't know their rights when it comes to their land and mining. So it's easy for them to take advantage and take what is theirs and leave them with nothing. So what I did is that when they told me about this land and they had iron ore, and I said to them, can I be the in-between person just to help you guys, because I have a bit of a background in regards to geology. And that's what I did. I made sure that everything went as it should legally. I asked relevant questions, and obviously a lawyer was needed. So they have a lawyer. So it was me and the lawyer making sure that everything went well. And from there I said, you know what, I have a heart for helping people, not just in the geology field, but life in general. I mean, I grew up very poor. I was struggling in the community that I grew up in, and I said to myself, I don't want to see other young people go through what I went through. And that's when now another part of me started, the NGO. So I'm going to stop there until you can ask.
I mean, I'm literally listening to you. I feel like an Oprah Winfrey speaking to me, and I'm really absorbing your energy, who you are as a person. And what really inspires a very young, passionate lady like yourself from Limpopo, you do mention that it was not all a silver spoon in your mouth. It was really hard. And people look at you today and they think you had it easy. From the way you speak, from the way you dress, and it was really a perseverance to succeed. It was really, you had to work hard. But take me through the process of the woman that you were back then to who you are today, and the foundation of your own, starting your own NGO.
Okay, so basically, like I told you, I did not grow up rich. Okay, I grew up in we were struggling in my household, and back at school, I knew that if I don't work hard and do my best, there's no other way that I'm going to make it in life. So what I had to do was to study hard so that I can get a bursary to complete my studies, and that's exactly what I did. I did not have that pleasure to enjoy life like the rest of my friends, because their parents could pay for them even if they don't do well. So I never really enjoyed my childhood, really. I had to be the serious kid, focus, think about the future, think about my family, think about the place they're in and how can I help them get out of the kind of situation they're in. So that's just who I was, and I received a bursary and I completed my studies. And so when I was in varsity, that's when now, whenever I would come home to visit and I'd see young girls and young boys lurking in street corners, having nothing to do. Some of them dropped out at school. Some of them don't have money to continue. It touched me. And I said, you know what? surely there's something I can do about this. And that's when my brother, MAHLAGAUME, he's my younger brother, we then decided to open an NGO. We call it Evolve 2030.
Oh, wow.
So basically what we do there is that we transform communities, both spiritually, economically, and socially. So we started that NGO, and I'm telling you, I'm so happy just to see us changing lives and to see people's lives flourishing the way they are. It just gives so much pleasure.
I mean, you are mentioning the pleasure, the excitement, the growth that this NGO is giving to the foundation on its own. But tell me about 2030, the reasoning 2030 is there. I mean, it has to be a vision. It has to be building up to something big for 2030.
Okay, so it brings us back to the UN. So you know of the 17 goals?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we adopted as well, because we know that we need to eradicate poverty.
Yes.
We know that education, the quality of education is poor there. We know that they don't have jobs. So all those goals, we actually took them and made them a part of manifested them, because I mean, if you really take a look, most of the rural areas or settlements, they more or less have the same problems.
Yes.
And unemployment, for instance, it's everywhere around our country. It's a big problem. And when we talk of poverty, I mean, almost every rural area, you know, I believe that no matter how much we can struggle as people, but it's wrong for people to lack basic necessities such as food, such as electricity. It's not okay. I don't think that is normal. It shouldn't be that way. And if there's something you can do as a young person, then you should. You know what I mean? So, but basically, so what we do in the NGO, so I can explain it to you properly, is that we actually bring the whole community together. We create a vision where we ask the community, where do you want to see yourselves? What kind of change do you want to see in your community? And then we involve them in the process of making that happen. So we made a mistake, firstly, and so I can explain because we're still learning.
Before the mistake. Before we get into the mistake, allow us, ladies and gents, right here on Galaxy Universal Network to take a quick breather, because today I am certainly conversing with quite a dynamic, a powerhouse on her own, and I'm conversing with CHARMANE, a geologist in South Africa. Not only that, her own foundation, NPO, that has a vision for 2030, really eradicating unemployment, the health space in South Africa, and really the economy of local communities within the rural areas. But more after this.
Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes. I like this.
Someone stole from me yesterday. It was not my fault now. Eh?
Leave me alone. Blast your head. No, don't shoot, sir. Please. Please don't kill us. I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
It is still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
And certainly, welcome back from the ad break. Thank you very much for joining us right here on Galaxy Universal Network, where we pride ourselves on bringing you the latest conversations and really thought-provoking conversations that we get to have right on the show. It might be with us young people in South Africa, our economy and our state of politics, and throughout our economy in South Africa. And today on the show, I get to be joined by CHARMANE, who's not only a geologist who studied geology in university, who scored herself a bursary to further his studies, not from the greatest of backgrounds, knowing that poverty is a real thing that we all get to face as young black South Africans throughout the country and even on the African continent. And she also started her own NPO with her younger brother by the name of Evolve 2030. And that is certainly inspired by the UN policies for the year 2030 and the 17 characteristics that we have right there. And we get to continue with the conversation right here on the show. Thank you very much. I'm learning certainly a lot, and to know that you're a woman and you're not stopped, you're not bound by the ethics, by the rules of being really undermined as a woman. When you walk in, you really get to exude such great, powerful confidence. But has it always been a problem? And we are going to go back to what we're conversing about before the ad break. But has it always been a problem as a young black South African woman to really go in boardrooms and speak your mind, really speak to lawyers, speak to other young women and say that you can and you will?
I'm going to be honest with you. I never had a problem in the Department of Speaking.
Yeah.
And that's because our parents have always given us an opportunity to actually speak our minds. They've always told us in our household, you know what, if you have an issue or you have something you need to speak about, go ahead, say it. So I've never, I can't lie, I've never had a problem. Like all my life, I mean, I was a prefect at school, I was a head girl. I was always just that girl, energy. I love life. I love people. I love making a difference. I just love doing something that is just significant and giving back to people and just impacting and advancing and transforming. That's just who I am. So
certainly, but I mean, even at that point, you might not have had the, confidence issues. You're always bold. You're very vigorous. But I mean, people do sometimes bring you down. They give you that nudge. They always say that you're not good enough or there's something that you lack. But what do you say to that young girl from Limpopo today, watching that young girl from Mpumalanga, from the Eastern Cape, from even our African countries, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, the DRC, and Mozambique? What do you say to them, really knowing that there's something they're very passionate about, there's something that they're looking forward to, but the community, the people around them, their parents, do not allow them to fully express that gift, that talent, that idea they might have?
Okay, so you mentioned something interesting, that surely there was something at some point that would demotivate me or bring me down. So like I said to you, I grew up in a very poor background, and I remember there was a point when I would go to school with torn shoes, like really torn underneath, and my jersey as well, right by the elbows. They used to have holes. You know what I mean?
We've all been through it.
You know what I mean? So it was so bad, and your shirt would be torn right there. You know what I mean? But still, with my torn shirt and my shoes with holes there, I would always make sure that I get myself cleaned up and I go to school. But the one thing that used to hurt me the most, because I was a child after all, and I had feelings, so people would make fun of me when they would call the prefect or the head girl to come and speak, and people would say comments like, oh, she must first start by buying a jersey, you know, stuff like that. And they would say all these comments, and I remember I used to be so sad. And sometimes I would not even have lunchbox. I would always go to the library to study because I can't sit with other people.
Wasn't feeding scheme there at the time?
You know, at that time, there wasn't. I don't think there was. I would have
literally been to the feeding scheme, because I think that is one thing that I know I have been really privileged to when things were down and out during our time.
I'm not going to lie, it was so bad. But what I'd like to tell other people out there is that, listen, I've been through the most, where I did not have money for lunch. I wore torn shoes and people made fun of me. But then I had to sit down and ask myself this question, that am I going to allow these people to label me? Am I going to allow my situation to define me? Because I'm not what people see. I mean, the situation that I'm in, I'm not my situation. But then God gave me a gift, and God gave me a skill to actually make something of myself. And one thing about me, I'm a firm believer, and I trust in the Lord. And I knew and I realized, and prayer gave me that energy, that motivation to not give up, because my mom taught us that, listen, when things are hard, you pray, you go to the Father who created you.
You go down on one knee.
You say, Lord, where to from here? And let me tell you, that kept me going. So to everybody who's going through a lot out there, listen, it's not, you are not your situation. There's more to you than what people label you to be. Just tap into that gift, into that skill that God has put inside of you, and make something of it. And yeah, I mean, if you put your mind to something, Nothing is impossible.
Wait, am I now speaking to a preacher? Am I now speaking to...
So I'm an evangelist.
I mean, I think it's so powerful for us young people to proclaim and to really say that I have a firm belief in Jesus Christ. I believe in the Lord and my faith is within him. And that's what builds me and makes me the young woman or the young man that I am. Yes. And I want to quickly explain to our viewers that when we say torn school shoes, we don't mean them flapping open. The sole gets very soft.
He knows
and when
what
it gets soft, it cracks in the middle. And once it cracks, it has that over, or it gets a circle right underneath. And when that thing happens, you now have to put boxes inside, papers inside, or something so that water doesn't come in. I remember at the time we used our shopping plastics at home to really put inside so that water doesn't get onto your socks.
Because
if that happens, because it's live, it's a reality, and people listen to us speak on TV, they think that we've had it easy, and that is the reality of a young African child. Kids have to cross rivers every single day. Kids have to do tremendous things. Others are child-headed households, and they're going through the most. The same jerseys that get torn is because you're always on your elbows, you're always studying, you're always working, and your jersey gets the rubber that is always, it gets loose at the end of the day. You pull it up and all those things happen. But at the end of the day, if you persevere and you understand that you are meant for something in the world that we live in, and God will put you through everything. But I mean, you do get to university, you do study geology, and here you are. Here you are, but it's not as easy as it may sound. It's not as easy. What are the challenges that you even faced in university? I mean, we can mention that you did get a bursary. You are the woman that you are today. At some point you had nothing, but today you are seemingly a very young woman who's economically understanding that there is a trajectory that I'm looking at. There are certain things I can now afford. I can afford for my siblings and my family at the time that I didn't.
Honestly, for me, varsity was also just as hard because I had to work 2 jobs. I had to work 2 jobs while studying. So I had a very hard time. And again, I don't know when did I got to actually enjoy life after varsity because, like I said to you, back at home, I had to work to get a bursary. I got a bursary now, I'm in varsity, but I have to pay for accommodation because it wasn't covering everything. So I had to work 2 jobs and still be able to come back and study. And that's one of the challenges. The second challenge is peer pressure as well. When you have friends that dress good, they look nice, and they go to these beautiful places and you can't afford to do that, and they look down on you. You know, you feel so alone sometimes, even though you are around people, because you are not at the level that they are in. But I was very blessed that I was a person who was very disciplined and focused. And I had a goal, I had a vision, and I knew that whatever I do in life has to be aligned to my goal and my vision, because anything else that takes me away from it, then that means I'm now, I don't know what it is I'm doing. So I just thank God that I was so mature that I had to sit down and plan my life at a young age and make sure that every decision I make, every choice I make is aligned to where I want to see myself get in life. And at some point, I even had to change friends because I realized that you do tap into peer pressure a little bit because you feel like you know what I mean exactly. And I had to come back quickly and say, hey, remember, you cannot. You don't compare yourself.
Your
They're
life
on
and
their own lane. You must stay in your lane. And yeah, there were challenges. I'm not going to lie to you, but then I always had to just remind myself that, Charmaine, this is the goal. This is the goal. Remember what background you come from. You need to help your parents get them out of that situation. And that kept me going. It kept me going. And it wasn't easy, but you can imagine 2 jobs in school, and I never...
Academics, I mean, engineering is a big thing. I'm just trying to imagine. I mean, I do converse with a few university students, and they're always complaining about the amount of work, the workload they have, and you balancing 2 jobs, and you are here pursuing a degree in engineering. I mean, that could have been hard on its own. And then I'm sure all those situations did allow you and your brother to actually get into the NPO, Evolve 2030. Take me through those challenges that you're about to mention and the mistakes that could have happened when you were really starting and growing the NPO.
The NPO. So basically, my brother and I were so obsessed with helping the poor. We were so obsessed with making sure that nobody goes to bed hungry. No, you know that we were so passionate, but we didn't understand the amount of work that comes with it and the responsibility. So the first thing we actually adopted a community called Holfontein in Trichard. It's a settlement area where the people are struggling there. So the first thing we did, we found a sponsorship for them to actually help them with solar panels. And they donated that. And a week from the time they were donated, they were stolen.
What?
I promise you, they were stolen. They were gone. And I remember we were so demotivated. We couldn't understand, but we're helping you guys. Why are you doing this? And that's when we had to learn that, Charmaine, don't judge them. These people grew up in poverty all their lives. Their mind is shaped by poverty. The way they think, it's actually everything. They perceive life through the lenses of poverty and the way they grew up. And we realized that we need to change our strategy. So the first thing we did was to actually start programs like Paradigm Shift, Mindset Change, where you help people realize that life is more than just you thinking about yourself. Definitely. And I would ask them a question. Imagine now you robbed your future children, your generation, solar panels that could have given them electricity for years to come, just so you can buy bread for today. And then now the bread is finished. What now? The solar panels are gone. So I had to teach them that instead of us giving you guys fish because they wanted handouts, how about we teach you how to fish so that even in our absence, you are still
able to generate the same amount of value that we bring.
Sustainability. So we had to think sustainability. How can we help them in a sense that they can sustain themselves and actually be a part of the change and not depend on us? So our strategy was programs, Paradigm Shift. We help them to actually see why it's important for communities to actually be involved in the change, in the process of actually making a difference so they can take accountability for their own community.
Certainly, but we are running out of time. I think we are just left with a minute and 30 seconds. But take me through the role that government can play, the NYDA, the national, the agency that represents young people in South Africa. I mean, what role can government, our different portfolios can play in allowing such NPOs as Evolve 2030 to pioneer and to get into communities where government seems to be failing to really address such issues that communities are facing?
You know what I mean? There are so many NGOs out there that are making a difference in so many levels, in different departments, but problems that we face as NGOs is finances. We lack financial capacity. We have the ability, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how, but we don't have the money. And it's the same with every NGO you can come across. And if the government could just help us in that regard, where he actually financial means resources to help us to actually make greater impact and touch more lives, I think that could help a lot and it could take us further. And another thing as well, corruption
is a big one.
Because apparently the money does come out, but the processes that the money has to follow, it's actually a mess. The system is a mess. The system is flawed. By the time the money has to come to the right people, it's not there anymore.
There. And the biggest question that I think we always ask ourselves is how much money that has been through corruption that could have sent university students through to accomplish
that could
their
have
degrees.
Built hospitals, schools, universities. I cannot even start to think about it.
But I mean, where can people get a hold of Evolve 2030, even your social media platforms, knowing that you are a geologist, you have your own campaigns that you're working out? How can people get a hold of you?
All right, so my personal page is Charmaine MAHLAGAUME on Facebook, and then on Instagram is Chanel_Charmaine, and then Evolve 2030, it's still Evolve 2030 on Facebook, so you can catch us there. And yeah, I would love to really engage with people.
Certainly.
I also run a mentorship program for young girls as well. So if there's any young girls out there who feel like they need mentorship, they can also go to my page, Charmaine MAHLAGAUME on Facebook, and I will gladly help.
Well, thank you very much, Charmaine MAHLAGAUME, for joining me right here on the show. It has been a privilege and an honor to converse with such a dynamite, such a pioneer like yourself, a leader of note. Thank you very much for joining me right here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Quite a pleasure. Well, South Africa, we do continue to have these conversations and to really give you perspective into really those that we seem, those that really look successful in the time and lives that we get to live in. But right here on the show on the Pan-African Morning, we'll be back after this with more news and updates happening throughout the African continent.
Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this. Someone stole from me yesterday. It was not my fault now. Eh?
Leave me or I blast your head. No, don't shoot, sir, please. Please don't kill us. I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
But it's still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Oh my God!
Knocked out! And WBC Continental America's champion.
That was delightful.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot! Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Wow!
Let's go. Come on, we can be back by morning.
Looky! Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah! Awesome! Totally! Yeehaw! Very funny.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
How can you say that?
That is what it is.
Your mother eloped with someone else.
I just think this is such a genius idea. I think it's amazing.
I can be happy?
It's inside you. It's inside of all of us.
It's about cooking smart that are nutritious and delicious.
President Trump acknowledging the coronavirus death toll could be significantly higher.
We don't want to do this.
There is nothing you can take.
Surviving roommates scared.
The heavyweights arrive.
Inside, finds Pachulia, blocked by Jane.
This is the will of God.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Welcome back to Galaxy Prime, Galaxy Pan-African Morning, right here on Galaxy Universal Network, channel 500 on Starsat. My name is GUGU THUSI, and this morning we got to hold the fort for our colleagues Audrey Chimwanda-Twala and Petros Msweli.
Yeah, certainly, but it has been quite an honor and a privilege to sit where legends and where giants get to sit there. We get to really stand on their shoulders this morning and really get to hold the fort on such a very big show right here on Galaxy Universal Network. Quite an honor and a privilege. But I mean, THUSI, we're still continuing with current affairs, all things happening. What has really been happening with women in leadership?
We saw women rising in leadership. Yes. One in Tanzania, since the late president of Tanzania, John Magufuli, passed on, and may his soul rest in peace. We saw a woman who was a vice president coming into leadership, and we also saw the late King Goodwill Zwelithini Ngabhekuzulu also passed away, and an interim queen has been appointed rather to rule while the rightful king
gets to step up.
Yeah, so I think it's something interesting and something to celebrate, that in Africa we are evolving, and women are really stepping up into positions of leadership. It's something that we should be proud of.
Certainly. I mean, I just had a conversation with CHARMANE, who's really a geologist in her career. She's a geology, and she studied engineering, her own MPO, and it is Evolve 2030, and seeing quite a young woman also taking up space, taking charge and forth within leading our country, within all things happening, even in leadership. It's quite an important one. But I mean, what more things can we do as young men, THUSI? That is always the question. How then can we play the role? How can then we pass on the token to also say, run your race, be there, feel recognized, we see you? How then do we do that?
I mean, Harmony, it's no doubt that, for such a long time we've been seeing men, in positions of leadership. However, I think it is about time that we also come into good terms that women can also lead and allow them that space. But however, as men, we need to not forget that we still have a role to play in also leading and leading our nation. I mean, there are a lot of issues that are affecting young men that as men, grown up, we need to, step up into the game and really, help in mitigating the situation.
Certainly. Well, while mentioning all these things, I mean, Audrey Chimwanda-Twala is one dynamic woman within the African continent who's really spearheading politics, who's spearheading the accomplishments and how women should be celebrated. And she's such a Pan-Africanist at heart, and her entire being is always advocating for people on the African continent. And it is quite a beautiful one to see, to know even ourselves, we share spaces with colleagues that are that powerful within their own right.
And again, on some current affairs tip as well. Yesterday we saw Pravin Gordhan being cross-examined by Advocate Dalimpofu.
Yes.
That was the talk of the town. You could see Twitter streets buzzing about how he was tossing and turning and not, being honest and open to the questions that were asked. And it was really something interesting to look at, as to say it's the second time Pravin Gordhan being questioned, and in all of that, we're seeing him, not coming out with the honest truth and all of that. So it was really something interesting to look at. And
no, certainly, man. I think it is also quite beautiful to know that we are even investigating intensively in terms of what happened within state capture. Where did the money go? And people are wanting answers at this point. But it's been a certain an honor and privilege to really work with you, GUGU THUSI, all the way from Prime and Morning Express meeting on Pan-African Morning. It is quite an honor and a privilege once again.
Really, thank you so much for joining us from Africa and the rest of the world. We do appreciate you tuning on to Galaxy Universal Network. Galaxy Universal Network cannot do it without your support, and we urge you to continue supporting us across all our social media platforms. Do like, share, comment, and engage with us. We'd like to hear more from you, and thank you, Harmony, as well.
So it's quite a pleasure, GUGU THUSI. Well, South Africa and everyone on the African continent, thank you very much for joining us right here on Galaxy Universal Network. From myself, Harmony MBELE, and my colleague, GUGU THUSI. It is goodbye. God bless. See you same time, same place, the next time we get to meet.
It's a wrap.